like to share with you on this week's Parshas Truma, something very nice from the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchok Zatzal. In this week's Parsha, we have in the beginning the whole mitzvah. The Eibishter gives over to Moshe Rabbeinu how to make the oren. On top of the oren, we know there were kruvim, and the Gemara says that one looked like a male and a female, as we'll soon explain. And then by the end it says, V'nayadati lechosham, and I will set my times to come to you and to speak to you. And then the pasuk continues, V'dibarti itcho me'al kaperes, and I'll speak to you from the top of the kaperes. All Mefarshim ask, the whole time the Eibishter was talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, v'nasata, like it says before, you should give, you should do, v'yasisa. Why the word lecho over here? V'nedaiti lechosham, and I will set my times to see you over there. It should said v'nedaiti sham, I will make my time over there. V'dibarti itcho, and I will speak to you. So it says already the word itcho to Moshe Rabbeinu. What's the emphasis? V'nedaiti lecho. I'll make my time with you. There is a very interesting Gemara that Rabbi Yitzchok explains. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Tav Zayin Amar Aleph, there was this person who once said about himself, and he said, when my relationship with my wife was very good, then our intimate time together, we could be, the space that we need could be even the width of a sword, hinting, we don't need any space, we're together, united together, and bonded together, so close. However, when my relationship is not so good, there's not such good shalom bayis, so to say, then the space could be even 60 cubits, like 75 feet. It doesn't help me either. Space doesn't help me. Having a huge mansion or... This is what he said. Comes Rebbe Huna and says, the source of this saying that's even in the world, and Rebbe Yitzchok explains, because everything that's in the world is really taken from Torah, Lekem Midl the Remize Baraisa. Torah is the blueprint of the world. Whatever you have in the world, you find in Torah. Says Rebbe Huna, we find the same example of a relationship with a husband and wife between the Yidden and the Eibishter, which is like a chosn and a kala, as we know. The Eibishter is the chosn, the husband, the Baal, and Yidden receive from the Eibishter, they're like the Isha, the wife of the Eibishter. As many midrashim. So explains Rabbi Huna, in our parsha we find that the Eibishter made the kruvim hinting to a husband and wife, and the space was so little. It was only 10 tvachim, the oren with the kaporis, such a little space, such a big Eibishter came down, condensed himself in this small little space. And that was in the Mishkan. And we know that everything from the Mishkan was never destroyed. The relationship over there showed on a solid relationship. The space was very small. However, when it comes to the Beis Hamikdash, which ultimately got destroyed, as we'll soon explain, over there you look at the measurements. It says in Malachim Aleph, Perek Vav Pasuk Beis, what was the measurement of the Beis Hamikdash? So it says over there, 60 amos was the length, 20 amos was the width, 30 amos was the height. Big structure, big building. And still in all, the relationship of the ended, so to say. It wasn't destruction of from the temple happened as the relationship of the Eibishter and the Yidden, the husband and the wife, wasn't 100%, and therefore it brought the destruction, the churban bayis chas v'shol. We have the third Beis Hamikdash. So this is what Rabbi Huna says. Your parable is similar to what we had. The Eibishter and the Yidden, husband and wife. By the Mishkan, the space was so small, and it was a good one. And over there was 60 amos length. And still in all, it wasn't everlasting. Rabbi Yitzchok really has on this Gemara over 15 questions. I'm not going to go into all of it, just going to speak about one interesting, beautiful explanation that Rabbi Yitzchok has. And that is, everything in Torah is exact. In the Moshel, the man said 60 amos. But the Gemara, when it speaks about the Beis Hamikdash, it brings all the measurements. It says it was 60 amos in the length, the oirech, 20 amos in the roichiv and the width, and 30 amos in the height, in koimosoi. Why does the Gemara bring all the dimensions? And why Taka was the Beis Hamikdash exactly 60, 20, and 30 in the height? Everything has a reason. Come Rebbe Yitzchok and explains like this. It explains in Chassidus that there are two types of relationships and two types of bonding. We know it says in the beginning of Chumash, V'odam yoda es chava, he knew chava. Rebbe says in Tanya Perek Gimel by the end, das means bonding, connecting. There's two levels of how a person connects. I'll bring a simple example. There's some relationships that we have, we bond with people, but it's based on rationale, it's based on reason. Somebody hires a secretary, for instance, in this company. It's based on performance, based on how good she does. So it's a logical decision that you have a relationship with a worker or with a secretary. But the relationship that a parent has with a child is not only a rational one based on a reason, it's much deeper. It's an inner bond. It's from the essence and the it comes from the essence, because that's part of me, that's an extension of me. It's your essence. And that's why everything else comes into a relationship with your child. Similar, there are two types of relationships to Hashem. And that's called in Chassidus Das Tachton and Das Elyon. Das Tachton means the lower level of Das. And that's a bonding, Das, which is an outcome or offshoot of your understanding. It means you think about it, Hashem makes sense, mitzvahs make sense, and it's good to do it. And so your relationship to Hashem is based on reason. And that's why you want to do things. But that is dangerous, I explain the Chassidus, because sometimes not everything you can understand. And if you're only going to base everything on reason, rationale, then that relationship and that bonding could ultimately end. And then there's what's called Das Elyon, where a person is in essence bonded to Hashem. It's not based on reason. That's called Das Elyon. And that was the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. It says, the Rebbe says in Tanya Perek Membeis, Moshe Rabbeinu b'chinas Das, he wanted to implant that bond with a Yid to the Eibishter, with your essence, not based on reason or rationale. Now you'll see how beautiful it is, the pasuk over here. The pasuk starts off, V'nei adeti lecho shom. Says Rabbi Yitzchok, interesting remes. If you change around the letters, V'nei adeti comes to the letters V'nei dati lecho shom. V'nei dati is the root is das. Over there in that space of the Mishkan, we bond together lecho, like your level, Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why it says lecho, with like your level of Das Elyon, an essential essence of a bond of a Jew to Hashem. And then he understands as much as possible. Now look how beautiful this remes from Rabbi Yitzchok is. If you take the three dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash, which unfortunately ultimately got destroyed, showing on the relationship of the Eibishter and the husband and the wife wasn't so solid. It was 60 in the length, that's the letter Samach. 20 in the width, letter Chof. 30 in the height, letter Lamed. Put the letters together, you have Sochol. Sochol, we have many times that word in Koheles from Shloime, King Shloime Melech. Sochol means foolish, folly. We know the famous saying, Yisrael HaChochom and HaSichlos. Greater is the someone who has Chochma than someone who has Sichlos, Sochol. Explains the Chassidus. Sochol doesn't mean a fool completely. It means somebody who serves the Eibishter only based on rationale. Chochma shows on bittul, someone who has a deep and total devotion to Hashem, higher and deeper than understanding. Total of nullified to the will of Hashem. And that's the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. And now you understand what the Gemara is saying over here. In the Mishkan, the level of Moshe, V'nei dati lecho, hinting das, your level, das Elyon. We are one. There's no separation. That's why even there's no space between one another. In other words, it's higher than space and deeper than space. Beis Hamikdash was Sochol. 60, 20, 30 height. Over there, people started to serve Hashem based on logic and reason, and ultimately the relationship between Hashem soured, and that brought, unfortunately, to the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. There's so much more to talk about. You can look it up. We bring it in our Sefer on Yalkut Levi Yitzchok al Torah, in Parshas Truma, all the 15 questions of this Gemara, why Rav Huna. But you see the beautiful, every single thing in the Torah, why it says L'cha, why the dimensions of the Beis Hamikdash, and the beautiful explanation on the Gemara.